Can a simple box hold real evil? It looked like just a small wooden wine cabinet, plain and old, with 2 doors on the front. But this was not just any box. It would become one of the most famous and scary objects in all of internet horror legends. The story starts in 2001. A man named Kevin Mannis bought the box at an estate sale. The things for sale belonged to an old woman who had lived through a terrible war. The woman's granddaughter was selling her things. She told Mannis that her grandmother always kept this one box hidden. She said the old woman hated it and was terrified of it. The granddaughter said the box held a bad spirit from an old story. She begged him never to open it. But Mannis did not believe in such things. He bought the box. When he took the box to his home, a relentless dread filled the house. He began having a terrible nightmare, over and over again, every single night. In the dream, a monstrous old woman with dark, empty eyes would chase him through dark hallways. He felt a fear he had never known before. Worse, anyone who stayed the night in his house had the exact same nightmare. His friends, his family, even his brother. They all saw the same scary old woman. They all felt the same deep, cold terror. The dream was not just his, it was spreading. Soon, they started seeing a shadow figure when they were awake. It stood in dark corners, just at the edge of their sight. The box was not just causing bad dreams, it was letting something out. The man could not keep the box. He tried to give it to his family. He hoped the curse would leave him, but the box did not want to leave. The bad feelings followed it everywhere. He gave it to his sister for 1 week. In her house, doors would lock by themselves. Then they would unlock. His brother took it next. A horrible smell filled his home. Like old spoiled flowers. No one could find where it came from. The box was not just an object. It was a sickness that could spread. He was too afraid to keep it. He was too afraid to break it. So, he did something new. He put the small wine box up for sale on the internet. This was how a private terror became a public legend. His words on the website were not a sales pitch. They were a warning. He told everyone about the nightmares. He wrote about the shadow that watched him from the corner of his eye. He begged someone to take it away, but he also warned them, do not open it. A college student bought the box. His name was Josef Nietzsche. He did not believe the stories. He was just curious. The terror began right away. He and his roommates all became sick. A strange illness filled their small home. Their hair started to fall out in big clumps. They felt tired all the time, as if something was draining their life away. Then they started seeing things. Dark shapes moved in the hallways. They saw a shadow figure standing in the doorway at night, just watching them sleep. The box was not just a story anymore. It was real, and it was in their home. The box was sold again. This time, a man named Jason Haxton bought it. He ran a museum. He was a man of science who liked facts. He wanted to study the box and learn its secrets. But the box did not care about science. Soon, Haxton started having strange health problems. A painful skin problem appeared all over his body. He would wake up choking, and sometimes he coughed up blood. The logical world he knew was breaking apart. All of these terrible things pointed to one old idea. The box was not just haunted, it held something specific, something from ancient Jewish stories. This spirit is called a Dybbuk. It is a soul that cannot find peace. It is lost between worlds. So it grabs onto a living person, or an object, trying to live again. This was not a random ghost. It was a hungry spirit, trapped and angry. Jason Haxton knew he had to look inside. To fight the spirit, he needed to know what the box was protecting. He gathered religious leaders to help him. Together, they would finally open the small wooden cabinet and see what was trapped within its walls. The air in the room grew still and cold as they worked the lock. A heavy quiet fell over everyone. They all felt a deep sense of dread, as if they were breaking a rule that was ancient and important. It felt like a final warning. Inside, there were no bones or dust. There were just a few simple things. 2 old pennies, a lock of blonde hair tied with a string, a lock of black hair, a tiny cup made for wine, a single dried rosebud. And on the back of the box, a single word was carved, the Hebrew word for peace. Years later, after the box was famous, a strange truth came out. The first owner, Kevin Mannis, admitted something. He was a writer. He said he made up the story of the Dybbuk. It was just a way to make an old wine box seem more interesting at an estate sale. But his confession was not the end of the story. Mannis insisted that the box was still haunted. He said that even if he invented the Dybbuk, the bad luck was real. The shadow figure was real. The nightmares were real. The story might have been fake, but the fear it caused was not. Today, the Dybbuk Box sits in a museum of haunted things. It is owned by a paranormal investigator named Zach Bagans. It is sealed away inside a glass case where people can look but never, ever touch. Warnings are placed all around the exhibit. Visitors are told not to stare at the box for too long. People who ignore the warnings report feeling suddenly sick. They say they have terrible nightmares for weeks after leaving the museum. So, is the box a trick, or is it truly cursed? The most chilling answer is that it might be both. The story gave the object power. So many people believed in the Dybbuk that their fear may have created the very evil they were trying to avoid. Think of it like a dark thought that takes on a life of its own, a shadow that grows larger the more people look at it. The Dybbuk Box is no longer just a wooden cabinet. It is proof of how a scary story can become a real curse. It sits in its glass prison, feeding on the fear of those who watch it. A quiet reminder that some doors are meant to stay closed, and some stories are better left untold.